Please, read this letter from Mom.
Who sent you?
What is this?
Seattle, whiteout morning. Nathan Cross, a driven CEO who forgot how to feel, hurries through Harbor Plaza when a shivering boy holds up a crumpled letter, a silver compass on a red thread. The engraving matches a promise Nathan once made. His name is on the envelope. A voice asks him to read it. In this storm, is he ready to become the man a child is searching for? Seattle wakes in gray, the harbor light dull as tin, the streets glazed like a frozen lake. Nathan Cross stands at the window of his glass penthouse and watches the wind roll low along Alaskan Way. The pane hums. His breath curls. He runs a palm along the sill, then straightens his tie, red against the crisp white shirt, and nods at the man in the reflection. Mid-40s, deep blue eyes, dark brown hair, side-swept, touched with elegant gray. Square jaw, thick brows, a smile that convinced shareholders he could turn a blizzard into ratings. Tall, broad-shouldered, the suit sculpted to a V. He looks like a life he once wanted. He isn't sure it still fits. In the kitchen, the coffee machine hisses. He doesn't sweeten it. He never did. He slides a leather folio into his briefcase, hesitates, then pulls a battered spiral notebook from the same drawer. The cardboard cover is soft from years. On the first page, in his younger handwriting, 3 words run in black ink. Keep going. He set them down once on a night he thought he might not. Nathan traces the groove of each letter, hears the scratch of the pen in memory, then closes the book and places it back. There is no time for sentiment on a storm day. Phone to his ear, he steps into the private elevator and rides through the spine of the tower. "Morning, Dana," he says when his executive producer answers on the second ring. "We're stacked for wall to wall," Dana replies, voice tight, the newsroom clatter at her back. "Live trucks on Harbor Plaza and Ballard Bridge. Cold weather tips in the B block. City says stay home, but nobody listens when the water turns to glass." "We'll lead with Harbor," Nathan says. "No panic, no drama for drama's sake. If we save people 10 minutes on black ice, that's worth more than any sizzle." "You're the one who taught me that," Dana says, softer. "You getting in before 6? 5:40, he says, and ends the call. In the garage, the concrete breathes cold. His driver offers a wool coat. Nathan waves it off, then takes it anyway, because even determination has a temperature. The car noses into the whiteout, wipers thudding like a slow metronome. The city blurs, then resolves. Cranes along the waterfront, ferries parked like sleeping whales, the neon Pike Place sign a red heartbeat in the fog. A live truck passes, antenna nesting like a folded limb. In the other lane, a sedan skids and recovers. Nathan watches the driver's hands tighten on the wheel, the head bow in relief. He remembers being that sure once, when he thought the map of his life would be as clean as a weather graphic. The phone vibrates again. Investor text. A board member in New York, already awake, already pressing. Weather means eyeballs. Eyeballs mean leverage. He thumbs a reply that says, "On it," then adds, "Nothing else." For years, he measured days in SharePoints, in minute-by-minute charts where green arrows were proof of virtue. Somewhere along that climb, birthdays thinned, holidays went quiet, and the wide glass of the penthouse looked like success and felt like, as he once joked to a late-night host, a very expensive aquarium. At a light, he stares at the iced crosswalk. A man in a Seahawks hat walks a dog in tiny steps. The dog lifts its paws, unsure of the world. Nathan almost laughs, then doesn't. He thinks about the people who will slip today, the ones who will not risk missing a shift, the ones who just don't have the option to be careful. He thinks about the newsroom code he wrote his first year: inform more than impress, protect more than provoke, and how easy it is to keep a code framed on a wall and harder to keep it in your chest. They crest the hill toward the plaza. Cross West glows through the storm. A modern glass hive, lights steady, the red ticker crawling a ribbon of winter warnings. Nathan steps out into wind that bites his cheeks and steals his breath. The revolving door pushes back like a living thing. Inside, the lobby gleams, floor slick with thawing snow, the security desk haloed by monitors. Employees stamp their boots, cheeks bright from the cold. A camera operator hugs a coil of cable like a child. A producer taps notes into a phone with stiff fingers. "Morning, Mr. Cross," the guard calls. "Morning, Luis," he answers, lowering his voice as if calm alone can warm the room. He shakes the snow from his shoulders and starts toward the elevator bank. His shoes leave dark half-moons on the marble. He rubs life into his hands, then flexes them, an old habit from the days he rode in the live trucks and set up his own tripods. The doors whisper open. A gust follows a family inside, bringing the harbor's damp breath with it. Nathan turns, a reflex, just as the lobby doors stutter again. This time, the wind shoves them wide and holds them there. For a second, the storm is a wall. In the white tangle of it, a small figure fills the doorway, edges sharp against the light. A knit hat, a coat several sizes too big, arms wrapped tight around something crumpled in both hands. Nathan feels an old instinct pull him forward, the kind you get from years of hearing trouble before you see it. The elevator chimes behind him. He doesn't step in. The figure steps once, twice. Snow falls from the hat, from the sleeves, onto the floor. The lobby hushes, like the building itself is waiting. The boy stepped into the lobby, boots slick, cheeks raw from the wind. He held a crumpled letter tight in both hands, a silver compass keychain dangling on a frayed red thread. The security guard started to rise, uncertain. Nathan turned toward the elevator, ready to vanish into his day, when the boy's voice broke through the hush. "Sir, can you read this for me?" Nathan froze. His instincts, honed for years in the studios and boardrooms, faltered. He turned back. The boy's small hands shook, the note nearly slipping from his grip. Nathan walked toward him, each step heavy as the storm that roared outside. Up close, the child's eyes were wide, both scared and stubborn, as if he had rehearsed this moment and knew he couldn't let it pass. Nathan knelt, the marble floor biting through his trousers, and reached out. The boy's fingers were ice. The compass caught the light, tarnished but unmistakable. On its back, the engraving. "Keep going." Nathan's chest tightened. He had scribbled the same words once into a notebook now buried in a drawer upstairs. The motto that had carried him through sleepless nights, deadlines, the climb from a newsroom intern to a CEO with glass towers in his name. The letter was addressed, in looping handwriting, to Nathan Cross, his own name. The boy's voice was small. "My mom said you'd know what to do." The elevator chimed behind them. The building's pulse carried on, producers and anchors hurrying to beat the storm. But Nathan stayed on the floor, holding a paper that felt heavier than any contract he had ever signed. The edges were soft, the ink smudged. And yet the script tugged at something deep, too familiar. A memory surfaced. Her handwriting on the corner of lecture notes, the way she looped her L's, how she always pressed too hard with the pen. Elena. Nathan blinked hard, snow melting into drops on the boy's coat sleeve. "What's your name?" he asked. "Leo." The boy didn't flinch. Didn't smile, just watched him with steady eyes, waiting. Nathan swallowed, the taste of iron in his mouth, and unfolded the letter. The green room smelled faintly of coffee and damp coats, the kind of small space reserved for guests who needed calming before a camera. A space heater hummed in the corner, its orange glow reflecting in the boy's eyes as he rubbed his hands together. Nathan sat opposite him, the letter unfolded in his lap. The compass lay on the table between them, its frayed red thread like a vein tying the past to the present. The words blurred for a moment. He steadied his breath and began to read aloud, his voice catching before the second line. "Dear Nathan, if you're holding this, it means I couldn't stay long enough to tell you myself. My name may not mean much now, but once it did. Elena Whitfield. You knew me when I was stronger, before the winters got harder. You told me once when a map runs out, a compass still points you forward. I never forgot. That's why I kept this. That's why I told Leo, if he was ever lost, find Nathan Cross. He'll help you find your way." Nathan's throat closed around the last words. He pressed a hand to his eyes, breath unsteady. Leo leaned forward, his voice barely audible. "She said you would read it. She said you'd understand." Nathan folded the letter carefully, like it was glass, and set it back on the table. He studied Leo. The boy's ears were red from the cold, his jacket too thin, a sleeve unraveling. His eyes, though, clear, steady, watched him without fear. "You walked here, in this weather?" Nathan asked. Leo shrugged. "The bus stopped running. I just kept going." His fingers brushed the compass as if it anchored him. "Mom said you'd know what to do." Nathan inhaled, the weight of memory pressing harder. Elena's handwriting, her voice. He hadn't heard either in decades, yet they felt nearer than the storm outside. The door cracked open. Dana, his producer, leaned in. "We need you on the floor. Satellite uplinks down. They're asking for—" She stopped short, eyes flicking between Nathan and the boy. Her tone softened. "Is everything all right?" Nathan's hand hovered over the compass. "Not yet," he murmured, "but it will be." Dana hesitated, then nodded and left. The hum of the heater filled the silence. Nathan reached across the table, his hand steady this time. "Leo, we're going to figure this out. Together." The boy's lips parted, hope flickering there, fragile but real. Nathan glanced at the letter once more, the ink dark against the worn paper. Elena's words echoed inside him, louder than any newsroom feed, louder than the storm. "If Leo is ever lost, find Nathan Cross." He looked back at the boy. "I promise, you're not lost anymore." The heater rattled in protest as the storm pressed harder against the glass outside. Nathan sat in the narrow green room, the letter trembling slightly in his hands. His voice dropped as he read on, forcing the words past the knot in his throat. "Elena Whitfield. December. My last winter. Nathan, you once told me a compass mattered more than a map because it points forward even when you don't know the roads. You never knew what those words did for me. I repeated them when nights were long. I whispered them when Leo was sick. If he ever needs someone, if he's ever lost, find Nathan Cross. He'll help you find his way." The air left Nathan's lungs. He closed his eyes, fighting to keep his composure. His knuckles whitened around the page. Across from him, Leo sat forward, tiny knees knocking together, his breath shallow with waiting. "She really wrote that?" Nathan nodded. "She did." His voice cracked despite himself. He swallowed hard and tried again. "Your mother was brave. She wanted you safe." Leo's eyes, wide but steady, searched Nathan's face. "Do you remember her?" Nathan blinked. The memory flickered. Coffee shops near campus, a girl with notebooks full of sketches, a laugh that carried through late-night study halls. He remembered the way she listened like every word mattered, and the last phone call he never returned. "Yes," he whispered, "I remember." The boy exhaled, relief and sorrow twisting together. He touched the compass with one fingertip, sliding it back toward Nathan. "She said this belonged to you once." Nathan stared at the tarnished metal. "Keep going," etched deep into its back. He had scribbled those words in his own notebook decades ago, believing ambition was the only way forward. Now they struck like a blade, reminding him of all the calls ignored, the people left behind. A knock at the door jolted them both. The security guard peeked in, uncertain. "Mr. Cross, media van's back online. They're asking for you." Nathan didn't move. He sat, rooted, the boy's presence heavier than any crisis feed. He folded the letter with deliberate care and slipped it into his breast pocket. Then he leaned forward, meeting Leo's eyes. "You're not alone anymore," Nathan said. "Do you hear me? We're going to figure this out. One step at a time." The boy nodded, lips pressed tight, as though he didn't dare trust the hope that wanted to break through. Nathan rose, adjusting his suit jacket. His reflection in the small mirror behind Leo looked less like a CEO and more like a man finally stripped bare. He touched the compass once before tucking it safely into his pocket beside the letter. The storm outside wailed, but Nathan's voice was steady. "Come on, Leo. Let's start by warming you up." Nathan's office, usually a sanctuary of glass and steel, felt smaller than ever as he shut the door behind them. The storm's howl was muffled here, but not gone. He guided Leo toward the couch near the corner lamp, draping a wool blanket over his small shoulders. The boy clutched it gratefully, but his eyes never left the compass now resting on Nathan's desk. "Do you want me to read the rest?" Nathan asked gently. Leo nodded, hands tightening in the fabric. Nathan unfolded the letter again, his chest tightening as he reached the final lines. Elena Whitfield, January, hospice. Nathan, if you're reading this, then my strength is gone. I want you to know I never regretted the days I had with you. You were kind. You believed in things. Please, if Leo is ever alone, don't let him feel like he doesn't matter. Show him the compass. Tell him to keep going. And Nathan, don't let success blind you from love. Love is the only map that matters. His voice broke. He lowered the paper, staring at the words through blurred vision. Leo's small voice cut through the silence. She wanted you to find me? Nathan nodded slowly. Yes. She trusted me. She trusted us. The boy shifted forward on the couch, eyes shining with something deeper than tears. Expectation, fragile and immense. Then, are you my dad? The question hung heavy in the quiet room. Nathan's breath caught. Every instinct told him not to rush, not to make promises without certainty. And yet, every fiber of his being screamed that the boy sitting before him was already his. I don't have all the proof yet, Nathan admitted softly. But, yes, Leo, I believe I am. The boy's chin trembled, and for a moment he seemed torn between running and collapsing into Nathan's arms. Instead, he whispered, She said you were good, that you'd help me find my way. Nathan leaned forward, voice steady now. Then I'll spend the rest of my life proving her right. He reached for the compass, the metal cold against his palm, and placed it gently in Leo's hands. This was hers. Now it's yours. We'll carry it together. The boy closed his fingers around it, and the storm outside seemed for a fleeting moment to soften. The storm hammered Seattle through the night, but Nathan hardly noticed. His mind churned long after Leo drifted to sleep on the couch. The boy's small hand curled protectively around the compass. Nathan sat at his desk, staring at the folded letter as though the ink might rearrange itself into answers. By morning, he knew what he had to do. Quietly, without alerting the newsroom, he called a number from his private list. A man answered on the first ring. Cross, been a while, the voice said. I need you discreet, Nathan replied. A woman named Elena Whitfield. She passed recently. I need everything you can gather. Medical records, neighbors, school files for her son, anything. There was a pause. Personal? Yes. Nathan's tone left no room for doubt. By noon, reports began arriving in encrypted files. Nathan scanned them with trembling hands. Foster placements after Elena's decline. Night shifts logged at a diner until she was too weak. A community clinic file showing chemo treatments. A neighbor's statement. She kept a silver compass, said it was from the good man who once told her to keep going. Nathan leaned back, the weight pressing down harder. She hadn't forgotten. All this time she had remembered his words he had tossed out like a pebble, never realizing they would become her anchor. One more file arrived, one that stopped his breath cold. A voicemail, sealed in his archives, dated 8 years back. He clicked play. The line crackled. Then a voice, faint but steady. Nathan, it's Elena. I don't know if this number even works anymore. I just thought, maybe you should know. I'm pregnant. I don't want anything from you. I just thought, you should know." The message ended. Nathan's chest hollowed out. He had been in Chicago that week, chasing a merger, his assistant screening his calls. He never heard it. He pressed his fists to his temples, whispering, "I should have found you sooner." In the stillness, he looked over at Leo, now stirring beneath the blanket. The boy rubbed his eyes, blinking at Nathan. "You're still here," Leo murmured, almost surprised. Nathan crossed the room and knelt beside him. "I'll always be here now." He reached for the boy's shoulder, steady, certain. For the first time in years, Nathan wasn't thinking about ratings, investors, or headlines. He was thinking only of one promise, never to let this child feel forgotten again. The DNA results sat in a sealed envelope on Nathan's desk. The city outside was a blur of sleet and fog, horns muffled under winter's weight. He hadn't opened it yet, though he already knew. Leo fidgeted in the chair across from him, swinging his feet nervously. A social worker sat nearby, gentle but firm, her presence a reminder that this moment had to be handled the right way. "Leo," Nathan began softly, "we did a simple test, just to be sure. Do you want me to open it?" The boy nodded, clutching the compass tight. Nathan tore the seal with shaking hands. His eyes scanned the page. Words blurred, then snapped into focus. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. He exhaled hard, almost a sob. He pushed the report aside and looked straight at Leo. "It's true," Nathan whispered. "I'm your father." Leo's lip trembled, his voice barely audible. "So, I'm not alone anymore?" Nathan reached across the table, covering the boy's cold fingers with his own. "Never again. I should have found you sooner, and I will spend the rest of my life making up for that." The social worker's eyes softened. "We'll move step by step. Counseling, tutoring, safe placement. But this," she nodded toward the two of them, "this is a beginning." Later, when the social worker left, Nathan and Leo stood by the window. Snowflakes swirled in the harbor light, dissolving against the glass. Nathan placed the compass on the mantel, right beside the letter he had framed in protective glass. "Your mom believed in this compass," Nathan said quietly. "But now, we don't need it to tell us where to go." Leo leaned against him, voice small but sure. "Because I have you." Nathan wrapped an arm around the boy's shoulders, holding him close as the storm raged outside. The penthouse felt different now. No longer a silent glass box, but a space with the footsteps, questions, and the smell of cinnamon toast lingering in the air. Nathan had arranged the details carefully: calls with the caseworker, a schedule for counseling, even a private tutor who understood how to work gently with a child who had carried too much weight alone. Leo stood by the window, nose nearly pressed to the glass as he watched the snow sweep down over the harbor. "It feels like the world disappears out there," he murmured. Nathan joined him, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "That's why we make a place where it doesn't disappear, where you belong." That evening, Nathan cleared space on the mantel and set the compass there, just above the fire. The red thread dangled down like a tether between past and present. He crouched so his eyes were level with Leo's. "This compass isn't about where north is. It's about never stopping, even when the road looks impossible. And now," his voice steadied, "we'll find our way together." Leo studied him for a long moment, then gave a small nod, as if sealing the promise. From that night, they began new rituals. Breakfast together before the newsroom swallowed Nathan's day. Evening reading sessions where Leo stumbled over headlines, and Nathan gently guided him to sound them out. Bedtime talks that always ended with the same phrase: "What was the bravest thing you did today?" But, beneath the warmth, Nathan wrestled with his own doubts. Could he really slow down? Could he trade the constant urgency of breaking news for the steady patience a child needed? He stared often at Elena's letter, framed now beside the mantel. Her words lingered like a challenge. Don't let success blind you from love. Love is the only map that matters. One night, after Leo had fallen asleep in a blanket fort they had built in the living room, Nathan sat alone on the couch. He rubbed his temples, thinking about all the years lost, about every call he had ignored. Every night he had chosen a newsroom over the chance of hearing Elena's voice again. But then he looked across at the boy, a small silhouette in the glow of the lamp, and for the first time in years, the weight of regret didn't crush him. It only pushed him forward. Nathan whispered into the quiet, almost like a vow, "I'll get this right, for both of us." The city woke under a sheet of ice, traffic crawling, headlines flashing warnings across Crosswest's ticker. Inside the penthouse, though, it was quieter, until Leo spotted something outside the window that made him stiffen. "Nathan, what's that?" Nathan followed his gaze. A drone hovered near the glass, its red light blinking like an unblinking eye. Within seconds, his phone buzzed. An alert from Donna. "Tabloid wire is running with Secret Sun in the storm." Leo backed away from the window, panic rising in his chest. "They know. They always break promises." His voice cracked on the word. "Leo," Nathan said firmly, kneeling so they were eye to eye, "I'm not breaking this one." But the boy was already grabbing his boots, his breath shallow. I can't let them take me." Before Nathan could stop him, Leo bolted for the door, slipping into the storm. By the time Nathan reached the street, snow stung his eyes and the boy's small figure was already vanishing toward the waterfront bus shelter, swallowed by whiteout. Nathan's heart hammered. He pushed forward, his polished shoes slipping on the ice, breath tearing through his chest. He called out, "Leo!" The storm answered with a howl. Finally, through the sleet, he saw him, hunched against the wind, clutching the compass so tightly the thread cut into his skin. Nathan dropped to his knees in the snow, not caring about the cold soaking through his suit. He pulled out his phone and showed Leo a photo of his old spiral notebook. One page worn thin with 3 words, "Keep going." "See this?" Nathan shouted over the storm. "I wrote it before you were even born. The same words your mom carried, the same words on that compass. We're tied together, Leo, you and me." He unclasped a chain from his own neck, a simple silver one he had worn under his shirt for years, and threaded the compass onto it. Carefully, he looped it around Leo's neck, fastening it with hands that shook more from fear than cold. Leo's eyes brimmed, his voice a whisper nearly lost in the gale. "Dad?" The word cracked something wide open in Nathan's chest. He pulled the boy close, shielding him from the sleet. "Yes, I'm your dad, and I'm not letting go." The storm raged around them, but in that moment, Nathan felt only the warmth of a promise finally kept. The storm eased overnight, leaving Seattle glazed in silver. Inside the penthouse, warmth replaced fear. Nathan had built Leo a makeshift studio from chairs, blankets, and a desk lamp. Inside, maps of the storm were spread out, and the two of them huddled close, tracing lines with their fingers. "This arrow means wind direction," Nathan explained, his voice soft but steady. "News isn't just about telling people what happened. It's about helping them prepare." Leo squinted, sounding out each word on the page. "Buh, blizz, zard." "Blizzard," Nathan said gently. "Perfect. Try the next one." The boy grinned, cheeks flushed with pride. For the first time in years, Nathan felt the weight in his chest lift, not because of numbers on a screen, but because his son had read a headline aloud. Later, they baked cinnamon toast together, the smell filling the apartment. Leo insisted on timing snowflakes outside the balcony window, stopwatch in hand. Each night ended with the same ritual. Nathan would ask, "What was the bravest thing you did today?" Leo thought carefully before answering. One night he whispered, "I said Dad," out loud. "To you." Nathan's throat tightened, but he kept his voice steady. That was brave, and it meant everything. Days blended into small, steady victories. Leo's laughter rang through the hallways, chasing out the silence that had once suffocated Nathan's life. And yet, Nathan knew storms didn't stay outside forever. A shadow loomed in the form of headlines, whispers, and the ever-hungry lens of cameras. But for now, with Leo asleep in the blanket studio, compass glinting softly against his chest, Nathan allowed himself a rare peace. This was no longer about ratings or markets. This was about keeping promises. And, for the first time in years, Nathan Cross believed he might finally know how. The peace didn't last. By the end of the week, a freelance stringer had snapped a blurred photo of Leo in the Crosswest lobby. By morning, the tabloid screamed, "Storm CEO hides secret son." Nathan stared at the headline on his tablet, jaw clenched. At the same time, another crisis hit. Icy had toppled 2 Crosswest repeaters, cutting coverage in the North End. Rivals circled, whispering about mismanagement. In the lobby downstairs, a paparazzo cornered Leo, shoving a mic too close. "Kid, is Nathan Cross your father?" Leo froze, panic flashing in his eyes. Nathan stormed down, pulling the boy behind him, his voice cold as steel. "Back away!" The cameras clicked like gnashing teeth. Back upstairs, Leo paced, shoulders tight. "They'll never stop. They'll twist it. Promises break." Nathan knelt, steadying his tone. "No one is breaking this promise. Not me. Not ever." But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at him. Shareholders demanded he choose the company or the distraction. Comment sections turned vicious, dissecting Leo's face as if he were a headline, not a child. Nathan shut the tablet with a snap. He looked at his son, who clutched the compass as though it were the only anchor left. "You're not a story," Nathan whispered. "You're my son, and I'll burn down every camera before I let them use you." In that moment, he realized it wasn't enough to hide. He would have to step forward, not just as a CEO, but as a father. The next morning, Nathan stood before a wall of cameras, the Harbor Plaza wind cutting sharp against his suit. There was no glossy press kit, no polished teleprompter speech, just a podium, his voice, and his son's privacy on the line. "I won't answer questions about an 8-year-old boy," he began, steady but firm. "What I will say is this. There are thousands of children in this city who walk through storms with no safe place to go. That ends today." He announced the Harbor Light program, 24/7 warming pods at transit hubs, emergency literacy corners in shelters, trauma-aware tutoring, and pro bono guardianship support, all funded from his personal endowment and executive bonuses redirected from his own leadership team. "This isn't charity," Nathan said, his breath fogging in the cold. "It's responsibility. We cannot call ourselves a community if we leave children to weather storms alone. Crosswest Media will cover the storm, but never at a child's expense." Reporters fired questions, but Nathan raised a hand. "That's all. The rest belongs to children who deserve peace, not flashbulbs." He stepped away, ignoring the clamor. Behind the glass doors, Leo waited, watching on a small monitor. His eyes shimmered when Nathan walked in. You told them no," the boy whispered. Nathan crouched low, brushing snow from his son's shoulders. "I told them the truth. And I told them you deserve to grow up without being chased by cameras." Leo slipped the compass chain into Nathan's hand. "Then keep this with you, so you don't get lost." Nathan closed his fingers over the metal, the engraving pressing warm against his skin. "I won't. Not anymore." The storm finally thinned, sunlight spilling weakly across Seattle's harbor. Inside the penthouse, the mood was softer. Nathan placed a small wrapped box on the table in front of Leo. The boy tugged at the paper, revealing a red wool scarf. Along one edge, carefully stitched, was a tiny compass. "It's for you," Nathan said quietly. "To remind you that no matter where the storm pushes, you'll never walk it alone." Leo wrapped it around his neck, the fabric swallowing his chin. His eyes shone. It feels like home. Nathan smiled, then pointed to the wall. A new frame hung there. Elena's letter, preserved beside a photo of Leo proudly holding his first library card. "Your mom's courage got you to my door," Nathan said, voice thick. "Now we'll carry her promise forward." Together, they walked into the Cross West building not as CEO and a boy caught in a headline, but as father and son. In a quiet corner once used for green room rehearsals, they unveiled the Compass Room, a space off-limits to cameras, stocked with cocoa, books, and calm. Every week, children from shift-working families, foster care, and shelters would gather there to read, laugh, and rest. Nathan watched as Leo poured cocoa for another boy, his scarf slipping loose, the stitched compass visible. For the first time, the newsroom buzz outside seemed like background noise, not the whole world. "See," Nathan murmured. "We're not lost anymore." Leo grinned, lifting the compass at his chest. "We just keep going." Seattle thawed slowly, salt crunching underfoot as sidewalks cleared. For Nathan, life reordered itself in ways no shareholder could measure. At Cross West, board meetings now started in daylight hours. No more midnight marathons for ratings' sake. He rewrote newsroom policy. No photographing minors in crisis. No stories that turned children into clickbait. A quiet revolution, not for headlines, but for dignity. Each evening, he cleared his standing desk before 6, stacking papers neatly so one ritual never got lost. Story time. Sometimes it was storm maps, sometimes old folk tales, sometimes just the day's small triumphs. Leo always asked, "What was the bravest thing you did today?" And Nathan always had an answer ready. One morning, he walked Leo to school, scarf bright against the gray. The boy's hand slipped into his naturally, no hesitation. Parents and children passed around them, ordinary in their rush, and Nathan felt a peace he hadn't known in years. At the corner, Leo looked up. "Dad, are we the lead story today?" Nathan smiled, squeezing his hand. "No, son. We're the warm lead in a city of cold news. That's better." They crossed together, the compass glinting faintly at Leo's chest, a promise carried forward with every step.